Hello, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. This is me, Tanya Nicole, and I'm very excited to invite each and every one of you all that are out there to join me. I am putting a comment in the comment box, and it is the link to my webinar that is happening in just 5 minutes. And so join me today if you are a mother and you are wanting some helpful tips about how to move forward with passion and improving relationships with your children, especially your daughters. Join me in 5 minutes. I've put the link in the chat and just click on that link. You can also join me here. I'm going to be broadcasting live from these social media sites. However, it's going to be limited in what you can see. You won't be able to get access to the PowerPoint presentation and the slideshow. So go ahead, join me right now. Click on the link, access the Zoom platform, and join me for a conversation when because I said so isn't enough. And we know just saying that, the old school mentality of why are you doing this? Because I said so. It maybe it worked at one point. I don't know if it quite did, but we're going to talk about how there are other alternatives that we can use in raising our children to be productive, to be effective in society, to really be able to go further and higher. So, as you all are looking up that link and clicking in, I'm going to play our quick little video for Tanya Nicole. All right, so we're back. This is Tanya Nicole. It's not Toxin Tea like you're used to. This is an actual webinar and it's absolutely free. So click on that link that's in the chat box and join me for this free webinar. It's going to be life changing, especially if you are a mother. And I call this our power hour. It's during lunchtime. So go ahead, pack your lunch, take your lunch with you, and let's talk about these critical issues that are really going to help us in helping empower our children and become the best parents that we can be. I'll see you all in 3 minutes. All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're joining us today, we are going to hit these really powerful ideas of how do we parent and how do we look at parenting beyond what was taught to us. And that's just that simple idea that because I said so is more than enough for what you need. Because what we know is that because I said so, when that is the answer that we receive, it is not always effective in helping us to learn and to really be our best selves. So if you're joining me live, welcome. If you're joining me on our social media platform, welcome, welcome, welcome. But if you really want to get all of the benefits of this, go ahead and click on that Zoom link and join me via Zoom, because that way you'll be able to see the slides as they come in and you'll really be able to get involved with this. Nevertheless, if you are joining us via social media, please stay tuned, listen to all the things that we have and that we're going over today, and ask questions in the chat because I'd love for this to be a very involved and interactive webinar for you all. I call it the Parent Power Hour. As I was thinking about what way would be the most effective way to really reach out to parents and provide a webinar where you can get different lessons and strategies to go over. And I thought about, well, when are the times that parents typically have just one moment to breathe? And what we look at is first thing in the morning, late at night, and sometimes at lunch. And in looking at all of those, first thing in the morning, we might have a second to breathe, but most likely we're going to be doing whatever short snippet that we can have for ourselves before we move into the routine of getting those kids out the house. Late at night is great, but by the time it gets late at night, we're tired. Sometimes we're drowsy and we're just not feeling at our top performance to be able to show up at anything, even if it is lessons to help us improve as parents. And so that's what brought me to the Parent Power Hour. And once a month, maybe more, I want to have a Friday Parent Power Hour where I invite you all, and it won't always just be parents, but a power hour. And it's going to be for women, for mothers, and for daughters, that next generation. And there are going to be different topics that are going to teach us lessons on how to show up stronger, greater, and really teach us how to tackle some of these challenges and barriers that keep us divided, keep us stuck, and keep us from moving to that next level. So if you're joining me, say hello in the chat. Be involved, listen to the questions and the answers that we have. If you have questions, please don't hesitate. Let's let this be interactive. And as I said last time, the link is in the comments. So if you would like to join me via Zoom, come on in, join me so that you can get access to the slideshow presentation. I'm about to share my slide, and we're going to get right into going into what we are looking at today. And that conversation really is hitting what is because I said so. When we're looking at being parents and being the most effective parents, what does it mean in order to step up to that next level? Now, this is specifically designed for mothers, and even more, looking at mothers and daughters. And the reason why I chose mothers and daughters is because mothers and daughters have that unique love relationship, but sometimes it can also be faced with some challenges as they're moving forward. So, if you're joining me today, this is what I need you to do. Take a moment. Take a moment away. Let's have lunch together. Let's talk about these topics and let's really go through them in looking at how do we come to this place and really maximize what we're doing as it relates to us being mothers, specifically mothers of daughters, but mothers as a whole. Even if you're a mother of a son, this will really resonate with you. So let's put those distractions away. I'm not going to take more than just a few minutes of your time, really staying within this power hour. And I thought it was really fun that today is Friday the 13th, and not in the idea of negativity, but have you ever seen the movie Freaky Friday? And so if you haven't, the movie Freaky Friday, a mother and a daughter, it's a teenage daughter and her mother, and they're always at odds and they end up changing bodies. The daughter goes into her mother's body, the mother goes into her daughter's body, and they call it Freaky Friday because they try to learn how to understand each other by looking at the world from the other's perspective. And I think that is awesome as we look at that, because really right now we are about to discover different ways to really hit that idea of looking into the shoes, looking into the perspective of our daughters, of our children, in order to better influence and better improve our relationships. So we're going to discover how our unconscious actions sometimes negatively influence our relationship with our child, but we're also going to go over some really fundamental steps on how to be more intentional about improving those relationships. So even though it's Friday the 13th, we don't have to go through these Freaky Friday instances. We can actually resonate with our children by thinking outside of the box and really considering the perspective without a drastic movement. So I ask you, if you have ever struggled with parenting being a challenge, or seeing characteristics in your children that you don't really like about them, or habits in them, or even if you've ever struggled with the idea of, am I even parenting correctly? Is this okay? If you've ever worried about a divide being between you and your child, especially mothers and daughters, a pitfall, maybe a disappointment that has come across. And even if you've been afraid to ask for support and guidance as a parent, because sometimes when we do that, we feel that there's going to be judgment. We may feel within ourselves that there's some negativity associated with stepping out and asking for help. And also, sometimes, if you've ever grown tired of the parts about parenting that people don't warn you about, the parts about mothering that people don't share because they're not glamorous, because they're not pretty, and they're not fun. And this really resonates whether you, for anyone taking care of a child, whether you're adoptive parent, foster parent, a grandparent, a guardian, even a biological mother or a stepmother. Those different dynamics all end up in the same idea as we struggle. And if any of these resonate with you, then this is for you. As I said, if you're joining us on our live stream, make sure you connect through our Facebook so you can get more out of this and actually see the slides that we're going through. I'll open up for question and answers once we get to the end. Imagine how you would feel if you could have a stronger relationship, greater relevance, and next level results with your child. I call it the 3 R's: relationship, relevance, and results. When we look at relationships with our child, just like this picture of the elephant balancing on a beach ball, that's a myth. An elephant balancing on an air filled plastic ball. It's a myth. When we look at this picture, we know there's some sort of camera magic. We know that it's not something that can actually happen. But when we talk about building strong relationships with our children, that's different. We actually can have stronger relationships with our children to build those bonds and looking at each other's perspective. We can have greater relevance with our children. And relevance is really the role that each of us play in one another's life, the need that we have for each other, and the value that we see in one another. And then that equals next level results. Because when you grow in relationships and you grow in relevance, then the product, the outcome of your continued interactions and relationships look different from the typical mother daughter strained relationship. It doesn't have to be that way. Now, sure, it may not be perfect, but you can build a foundation that allows you, even in all of its imperfections, to value and appreciate and learn how to break through and move over those obstacles, barriers, and pitfalls that often divide us. So, a few statistics I want to share. Did you know that the Journal of Neuroscience says that mother daughter relationships are the strongest of all parent child bonds? especially when it comes to the common ways their brains process emotion. Also, according to the 2016 National Parent Survey by 0 to 3, 87% of parents work hard to be better parents. And the last statistic, some 80 to 90% of women at midlife report good relationships with their mothers, although they wish that it was better. So, we're going to hit these ideas in the because I said so and how that isn't enough to really improve what we're looking at in looking to build relationships, relevance, and results with our daughters. So, this is called Because I Said So. Oftentimes, we know, especially older generations, a kid would ask something or a kid would be punished, and the kid would say, "Well, why?" And the response was instantly, "Because I said so." Excuse me. Well, as we learn and we grow over time, what we realize is the answer, "Because I said so," it doesn't do enough. It doesn't teach. It doesn't help you grow. It doesn't help you learn. It doesn't move you forward. Now, this isn't talking about if a child is asking why to be disrespectful, but a lot of times children, and even our teens and our youth, they ask why in order to gain understanding. And when our response is simply because I said so, then they do not gain the skills to understand the process of decisive thinking and moving forward. My story, and I'm going to specifically talk about my relationship with my teenage daughter. I thought I was going to do something different. And so my because story, I I sought to often explain to my daughter, especially my oldest daughter, who I'm going to talk about specifically. As she grew up, she was very inquisitive. So every time she would ask a question, I would explain it very thoroughly. And even as she grew older, as she would ask questions, as we would grow, as she would want to understand things, I would explain it so that she could understand. However, what I noticed was there were some times, if she did not ask why, that I would just simply assert something because I said so. No, I didn't use those terms because I said so, but I also didn't explain why we did certain things that we did or why I taught her to do certain things that I taught her because I was simply going off of the idea because I said so. Now, yes, at a young age and as our children are growing up, they typically see figures of authority, adults, parents, grandparents, that they are the ones who hold the key to all knowledge. And so as they grow, a lot of times they do accept certain things as because I said so. However, when we just stop there, then then they do not learn how to reason for themselves when they get older. When we make decisions for our children, yes, it may be because we said so, but there's a reason that we're saying it. And it is those reasons that we think through in our own brains that allow us to put forth those decisions for our children. So we have to also allow them the same sort of expressive decision making in order for them to be able to make the same reasoning and decisions, not just on the exact instance that you're teaching, but also in the future. So that's my because story. It ended up happening that my daughter and we may look perfect. I know it happens often, and maybe we don't. But a lot of people say, oh, your relationship is so great. But what it is we put work in every single day. When I hurt her feelings, she expresses it to me. When she hurts my feelings, I express it to her because we've come to a place that we have intentionally put forth actions in order to improve our relationship, to move beyond the because I said so mentality and move into us really having a greater relationship and a stronger bond. So that's my why. That's why I'm here. That's why I talk about this, because it's so important. We don't always know. And it took a moment of great disappointment. That's what I call it, the great disappointment, that my daughter and I really, our relationship really broke down. And it took that moment for me to understand that I needed to adjust certain things in the way I expressed and taught them to her so that we could move forward. And it has helped. Do I think it's perfect? Again, no. But what it is it's an open door to move forward and to work through challenges in a better, healthier, more positive way for a better outcome. So there is a quote, and I really like this quote because one of the things that I look at this in being is I look at it analogous to a seed. If you've ever planted a seed or went, and especially during springtime or whenever it's gardening season, right now in the fall, plants are starting to wither away, but harvest time comes. And the end result of planting a seed is typically a beautiful outcome, a beautiful plant, whether it's flowers, our trees, our fruit, our vegetables. The end result that you're looking for when you plant a seed is something beautiful, a beautiful growth of a tree, a plant. What you don't look for are the weeds. What you don't expect are weeds to come out of you planting a seed. However, in order to ensure that you don't get weeds or that you don't have plants that wither away and never grow because they stay stuck, you have to do certain things. With plants, yes, we're gardeners as parents. We plant this seed and these children that we have, and then it is up to us to nourish, grow, and help them really become all that they are meant to be, to blossom and become a beautiful garden or a beautiful flower. If we don't put these steps into place, then it may result in weeds choking out our beautiful plants. It may result in them withering. It may result in no fruit coming from our tree or coming from our plant. And so when we look at this, we really want to put it in that idea of planting a seed. Another thing to understand: when you plant a seed, you don't get the results of the seed right away. So it takes all of that work over time in order to eventually see the results and the outcome of your hard work. A quote by Jennifer Williamson says, "You plant seeds every single day in the world and in others. With every thought you think and word you speak and action you take, you are making a dent in the universe, and you matter in a real way." As mothers, it is important to know that everything that you're doing is going to benefit in the long run. And what you do matters. Every step of it, everything that you do, as it says, your thoughts, your words, and your actions. When we look at, and this is not a plant and a seed, but I love the idea of the caterpillar and what a caterpillar has to go through. A caterpillar has to go through a metamorphosis in order to become what it is meant to be. Our children often do the same thing. Similar to a caterpillar, they grow through life, eating, moving forward, and doing all of those things. And then they have a moment where they turn into a cocoon or a chrysalis. And it's this hard shell that covers them. And as it covers them, it begins to transform them. It's not always pretty, it's not always soft, but the end result is always a butterfly or a moth. And it's beautiful, and it allows them to really grow. Now, a chrysalis or a cocoon, if you break it, if they come out early, then there are things that don't result positively to the outcome of what could be. So let's go over the steps that, and there are three steps that I want to talk about that are going to take you to really building this relationship. The first step is communication. Communication is key. And the reason I say communication is key, it is not just talking to one another. Communication is everything within your entire being. It's your body movement. It is the tone of your voice. If you're on text message, it really is the way that you articulate your words in text message. Communication is every aspect of that. But look deeper. Communication is also the background, the thought process, the day's events that all lead up to how communication is delivered and how communication is received. So, as a parent, as a mother, working with your children, looking at communication is something to really take you to another spectrum, another level of really being able to have a deeper relationship with your child. And communication is so important because when you understand where your child is coming from, what their day's events were, and you deliver your message in a way that they're better able to receive it, while it may not be perfect every time, the more you do that, the more you're able to move beyond the barriers that were keeping that relationship and that communication from flowing into actually being able to hear and listen to one another. My daughter and I, we actually just talked about this a couple of weeks ago on one of my lives. But my daughter and I, we have this thing between us, and I say, 60 seconds, give me 60 seconds to react. And it works for us. It may something else may work for you, but be creative and think outside of the box. For us, our 60 seconds is whatever information she shares, especially information that might be shocking or jarring for me. We've agreed that she gives me 60 seconds to have an initial reaction. That initial reaction comprises of my day's events, my life of growing up, the things that I understood, the things that I went through, the things that I want for my daughter. It allows me to have 60 seconds to process all of that and then to move out of my headspace so that I can address what she is going through and what she felt comfortable and confident enough to talk with me about. It's been a game changer for us because before us having this moment, she took those initial reactions as a barrier for us that she could not talk to me. She took it as I would not understand, that I wasn't being reasonable, and that what she was giving me was too much. And so she started to keep more to herself. When we implemented the 60 seconds, 60-second first reaction, then she understood that I needed to go through my inner process in order to show up for her. It wasn't positive or negative, but it was what I needed to do in order to be at a space where I could communicate more effectively with her needs. So communication is key. The next step is be present. As mothers, we juggle a lot. And I know COVID has not been easy for a lot of us. Some mothers homeschool and you're with your children all day, 24/7. Believe me, I've homeschooled. I know. Some mothers are single mothers and you're working trying to balance so many different things. Some mothers, as wives, you're trying to balance the relationship of being a wife as well as being a mother, being a caregiver, working, all of these things that you are juggling as a mother. It can be a lot. So that is why it's so important. If you want to move beyond that because I said so relationship, one of the things you have to do is be present. Most recently, a lot of things have really been picking up with the things that I've been doing in my career. So, one of the things that I have committed to, and my children know it, but I have given myself a mandate, and I called it mandatory family time. And regardless, every day we have mandatory family time. For us, it lasts about and anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, but it is mandatory family time. And within that time, I am not on my phone. I do not have my computer in front of me, and I am just present in what we're doing. We're talking, we're communicating, we are, even if we're watching TV or we're doing something as a family, and I am there 100%. It's not always easy to do that, but it is necessary. If you want to break through the challenges and the walls that may be coming between you and your children, you have to show them that they have value and they are prioritized in your life. And whatever that time may be, it may be 30 minutes a day, it may be a once a week date with your children, it may be something else that you do, but whatever it is, be present for them. It may be 10 minutes after they get home from school or after you get home from work, where you are dedicated to listening to them, hearing what they say, responding, communicating, and interacting with them. So the step 2 is be present. And the last step, the third step, is teach them to think decisively. And what that really entails is understand for yourself where you place your values in what you're teaching them, and also in them understanding their values and why you're teaching those values. When you do this, you teach them to think decisively. Here's one guarantee, absolute guarantee I can tell you: your children are not going to do everything that you want them to do. They are not going to make the decisions, every single decision that you want them to make. That is why it is important, yes, to teach values. It is important to teach values. But on top or in connection or congruence, side by side to teaching values, you also need to teach your children to think decisively. This is really where the idea of because I said so isn't enough. I didn't do certain things as a younger child because my mom said so. When I grew older, I found myself in situations where I did them because I was not equipped with the thoughts to really think decisively about this is not the best decision. Yes, I knew right from wrong. And yes, I knew because I said so. But for this, it was a matter of what is that higher level thinking that you're teaching your children? Yes, right. Yes, wrong. But why is it right? Why is it wrong? Why do we look at this? A story that I have been telling lately: my daughter wants to get a tattoo one day. I absolutely do not like tattoos. However, it is something that she desires, and it may change, it may not. Instead of putting on the opinion that I absolutely hate tattoos, and I mean, I didn't put it on at all. Instead of doing that, what I talked with her about are the pros and cons, the safety of it, how that would look in her future endeavors of what she wants to do. And so to consider what she's getting for all of that. We talk through all of that so that now she can decisively think about what she wants. And if she decides to do it, if she doesn't decide to do it, okay. But it's because she thought about it thoroughly. And so my conversation with her was to teach her the idea to think about it thoroughly. It shouldn't be that when you are an adult that I'm telling you don't do this because I said so. What are the reasons and what are the considerations if I decide to do that? So teach your children values, absolutely, but also teach them to think decisively so that they can reason for themselves the next steps in their life. Imagine if you could have an unbiased support system to guide you through the difficulties of motherhood, the challenges that we are often faced with motherhood. Or if you could lead your children with more positive parenting strategies and really conquer this challenge of parenting with those 3 R's: stronger relationships, greater relevance, and next level results. What we learned today were exactly the tip of the iceberg of how to do that. We learned about the steps to pivot influence into positivity. We talked about some ways that our actions may affect our relationship with our child. We talked about using those 3 steps to communicate, to teach decisive thinking along with values, and to be present. And I will tell you, there is also a bonus step to that. The bonus step is to seek guidance. That guidance can be a coach or a mentor or a support group, but you want to seek guidance. So when you leave for here, you have a few choices. And I have the picture of it could either be a weed or it could be the growth of a new plant. And you have the choice to decide what is it that you want. Are you going to implement these skills in order to try to figure this out, which can sometimes take a longer way if you do it on your own? Or I could help you and I can help you fast track along this parenting journey, or someone to mentor, guide, and support you. Now, you may be thinking, oh, you're here to ask me money. I don't know if this can happen. And if I believe in this, will this even work for me? And what are you talking about coaching? And I bring these up because these are all great questions. Yes, when the idea of what we do in order to move ahead in life, whether it's parenting, whether it's finances, whether it's education, we do the things that are necessary. We invest in the things that are necessary to move forward. If it is a position that we want, we may invest in some classes to build skills. If it is finances, we may invest in certain things in order to ensure that our finances are taken care of. If we wanted to buy a house, we would invest in a realtor or someone to help us and guide us along that way. And really, that's what coaching is. And they're coaches in lots of different things. They're coaches across the board. For me, Tanya Nicole LLC, and the Bridge Every Gap Institute, I coach in helping women, mothers, and daughters, the next generation, move beyond their barriers and their pitfalls that are dividing them and to move into next level 3 R's, right? Results, relevance, and reach. And really looking at how do we move forward. So here's my offer to you. It's not to take your money. It's to have a conversation. Book a breakthrough call with me or join my Facebook group. I would love an opportunity to talk with you, especially if you are a mother or a woman or a next generation daughter that is really looking at how do you move from where you are right now to where you want to be, whether that is between your mother daughter relationships, or if that is in focus with your goals for life as a woman moving forward through and past these obstacles and challenges that sometimes hold us back and keep us stuck. So, if you are here, I invite you, book a breakthrough call with me. And as you are booking this breakthrough call, let's have a conversation about what exactly it is that you need in your life to take you further, take you from where you are to where you want to be. I'm going to open it up. If anyone has any questions, I will hang out for just a little bit. And I'm going to add within our chat how you can connect with me and set up a breakthrough call, or also I'd like to invite you to join my You for Youth group. And as mothers, that is an important aspect to really take us to the next level in who we are. I want to thank you all so much. If there are no questions, I will be here. I'm available. If you're joining me via social media, please go ahead, continue the comments. I will be following this in keeping up with you in the chat. And if you are joining me on our Zoom platform for today's session, thank you so much. And I look forward to talking with you and us looking at how do you break through and move beyond where you are to get unstuck and to move beyond these barriers into the 3 R's: stronger relationships, greater relevance, and next level results. Without further ado, I will be available to you, and that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you later. Remember, because I said so isn't enough. Take the steps necessary in order to move higher in your relationships with your child. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.